The most challenging part about having lymphedema is wrapping your mind around the fact that this is happening to your body, that things are going to be different, and that is scary. But I will say, in my 20 years of having this condition, I found a way to live. I got married. I had an amazing bachelorette party. And in 2020, I decided to stop hiding myself from the world. And in a journey of wanting to become a content creator, I started to do something that I never thought I would do before. I showed my legs. I know for some people that might seem minuscule and that might seem like something that's not really a big deal, but for me it was. And it really changed my life. This channel is called Style With Edema because it's all about self-care, self-love, self-expression, and what it's really like to live with lymphedema. Join me on this journey as I take you through where I was before, where I am now, and where I plan on going. Hello, welcome to Style With Edema. My name is Joi-Louise, and I have been living with primary lymphedema for the past 20 years. Now, I have talked about my lymphedema story on YouTube before, but I wanted to create a channel curated for women and men living with this condition that is a little different from what you might be seeing on YouTube. So I'm going to link in the description and at the end of this video where you can go and watch my original lymphedema story. I don't live there anymore. I am not that girl anymore, but I think that she deserves to express how she feels, and how she feels is valid. But I'm glad to say that I am not living there anymore. I'm no longer having those emotions or feelings about myself, my condition, and I'm excited to share all of the growth that I've achieved from that time up until now on this channel. So let me give you a little bit of a brief backstory on my journey. It'll be updated from what the old one is, obviously, but I want to give you a synopsis in case you don't want to go watch it. It is what it is, right? So I started to notice a change in my ankle when I was 17. And I will be 37 this year, which is not crazy, is a blessing. But when I look back on it, I really have been battling this condition for years. And I will say it probably is within the last 4 years that I feel like I have a handle on it. So I noticed that when I was around 17, and the way that I noticed it was fashion related. I wasn't able to wear the shoes that I wanted to. Pain did not start to kick in until I was older, but it was just the discomfort of not being able to wear essentially what everyone else was wearing, or whatever I deemed to be fashionable at the time. I was familiar with the condition because my mom has lymphedema in both of her legs. So it's a little different to know what a condition is and to realize that it's happening to you. And this was what brought me to tears. Full transparency, not going to hide it. You know, my mom's condition has exacerbated and is in a more severe level than mine is. And so when I started to develop my own lymphedema, my mind automatically went to where my mom is and starting to immediately feel all of those sad feelings that I felt for her. My mom has really been a trooper with the condition, but I myself selfishly did not want to go through the same thing. So just a little backstory there. What I can remember the most being a teenager with lymphedema or a young adult with lymphedema was hating the summer. I still to this day do not like to feel like I'm roasting in the sun. But as I got older, I realized it was because of my lymphedema. If you are living with lymphedema and you have for a while, you know that the summertime is not our friend. We swell more. The condition gets worse in the heat. And I didn't know that. And so I would always feel uncomfortable in the summers. I was miserable. So next, I was not officially diagnosed until I was in my mid-20s, I would say. And I knew the condition that I had, but a lot of the physicians I was seeing had no idea what it was. If you are living with this condition, that is not a big shock to you. I am glad to say, however, from 20 years ago, we've definitely made a lot of strides when it comes to the world of lymphedema, but we still have a long way to go. So I was finally diagnosed by a physician who retired in 2023. Was super sad to lose her as my primary physician. But the reason why this is important is because being diagnosed meant that I could be getting a prescription for physical therapy for my lymphedema therapy. And that was a game changer. That allowed me to develop self-care, to give my body grace, to understand that there was community, to understand that people understood and could treat my condition. Big deal for me. And then, the pandemic rolls around and I have all of a sudden all of this time that I was spending commuting to and from work back. I'd wanted to become a content creator for the longest. And now the pandemic hit. Being an introvert, I loved being at home. My husband and I ended up buying a house right before the pandemic hit. And so I had the space, I had the opportunity, I had the time. I started the journey to become a content creator. And what that meant was taking photos of myself. As someone who has lymphedema, I can almost bet that you have spent so much time hiding your condition. Typically, it's in my right leg. So typically I would stand to the left and put my right leg behind. I would maybe sit down and almost sit on my leg in photos so that it wouldn't show up. I would do anything possible to hide this difference about me. That changed. I started to see myself as a success story when it comes to this condition. I started to see myself as worthy of being photographed, worthy of, being an influencer, worthy of being seen, worthy of just worthy. And it really was the catalyst to me building self-confidence around my condition and not being afraid to educate people when they asked. This was a game changer for me, becoming a content creator, because it really catapulted my confidence. And I found community of other people that were also doing the same thing, just looking for people who looked like them, looking for a way to identify what they were going through. So in me doing this, I started connecting with brands that catered to people with lymphedema. And one of those brands was Juzo. What's interesting is I'd used Juzo in the past because my mother was a consumer of their products through her own lymphedema therapy. And so I was introduced to them when I started taking therapy. But I connected with the brand on a personal level once I became a content creator. And this is where things really skyrocketed for me on the style front. Most of the time, and I'm sure you've experienced this, I've only seen compression stockings in black or like a nudish tan color. And that for me was like the last thing you want to be wearing in the summer and the spring is black, right? I was cool with wearing it in the fall and winter. For the longest time, I only wore black because I worked in retail and that was the aesthetic. But Juzo introduced me to an array of colors when it comes to compression garments. And it really made manual lymphatic drainage fun. It made it a part of my personal aesthetic and really changed my story. I started to develop my own self-care routines around my lymphedema. I started to get dressed differently. There also was a release of a tie-dye sort of black and gray stocking that I wear almost every day, especially when I'm at work. Typically, my job right now, I'm at a desk all day, which if you have lymphedema, like you got to kind of move throughout the day, get that lymphatic system flowing. So I felt better about addressing my condition. And it was the beginning of me living with lymphedema. Because I definitely wasn't living before. I shouldn't have been suppressing, hiding, or trying to push down my condition. The more that I've paid attention to it, the better it's gotten. So Style With Edema is about walking you through all of the things that I've experienced, from self-care to intimacy. Yeah, I feel like people don't talk about that, being intimate when you have this condition. I want to be a mom. I don't see a lot of people talking about being pregnant with this condition. Plastic surgery with this condition. I'm toying with the idea of having a breast reduction. What does that mean if you have lymphedema? Been doing a lot of research there. So I just really want to create a channel that is informative, educational, aspirational. I feel like I've only ever seen things that are super sad and really don't give you a lot to take away from, other than there is currently no cure for this condition, which can be pretty sad when you do your research. One thing that I used to get a lot when I posted my content on Instagram was where I get my shoes. So, and how I shop for shoes in general with this condition. So you make sure that you subscribe and click that notification bell, because that video is coming up next. If you have not already, leave a comment below and let me know what you're looking forward to hearing from me on this channel, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.
Sugar and spice, give you everything.